And for latest on that, let me bring in our correspondent Jack Barton. He's live for us in Seoul. Hi there, Jack. Why did South Korea choose to dissolve the fund at this point?
Well, according to President Moon Jae-in, who called on Japan to make sincere efforts towards resolving the issue of wartime sexual slavery, the victims of which are euphemistically known as comfort women. It was just hours after that announcement by the Ministry of Gender Equality and Family that they were going to disband this foundation. And the excuse that he gave was because the victims, the surviving victims, comfort women and the families of victims who've passed away did not want the money. So the money was just sitting there idle. The foundation was of no use, and that's why he called for it to be disbanded. But importantly, though, he said the overall agreement that was struck back in 2015 still stood. And he'd been hinting ever since he came to office that he might disband that agreement. He's been very evasive on it. You mentioned it was struck by former President Park Geun-hye, currently in prison on corruption charges, and it never was a popular agreement. The big beef that Moon had with it all along is the agreement did not consult the surviving comfort women or any of their families. And so that's what he's calling on now, despite that criticism from Japan. He said he wants to see sincere efforts and some sort of offering by Japan that can be agreed to by those survivors and their families, though he didn't give any details on how that might be achieved.
And this issue has flared up again at exactly the same time as tensions are mounting over a disputed island. So will these disputes harm the relationship between Seoul and Tokyo?
Yeah, and it's the same day exactly that we saw South Korea's ambassador in Japan called in for a drumming down by the foreign ministry, and here in South Korea we saw Japan's ambassador brought into the foreign ministry and then given a drumming down over a protest in Japan by politicians calling on the government to take strong measures to get Dokdo Islands back. Now, those islands are firmly under South Korean control. They have been since the end of the Second World War. They're inhabited. They have a police outpost on them, and you know, they're recognized internationally as being controlled by South Korea. These legacy issues from the Second World War, they keep arising. They keep causing these tensions to flare up. We've seen it over and over again. We've also got a court case ongoing where workers who were forced to work by the Japanese in Japan and outside in factories and mines during the war are also now pressing ahead with separate cases. On the other hand, South Korea and Japan have had to work very closely together recently because of North Korea's nuclear missile programs, both of them knowing they have to work together, particularly Japan, very dependent on Seoul at the moment to ensure its voice is heard. So what we're seeing is really a two-track approach. On the one hand, Seoul and Tokyo have been deepening their cooperation lately and sort of just recognizing that we can't settle these issues in the short term. They are going to keep flaring up. There's a large section of the electorate in Japan and South Korea who are deeply concerned, but just trying to keep those issues under control while they deal with the broader diplomacy.
Well, thanks so much, Jack. That's our Jack Barton live for us in Seoul.